The Inquisitor is just simply the best ascendancy in the game, and it's not even close. When it came to pretty much every metric that I could think up of why an ascendancy is good, the Inquisitor pretty much aced every single one of them. The Ascendancy has multiple different defensive options, multiple different offensive options. These options are all thematic. They fit the theme of an Inquisitor, of elemental damage and being like a holy man who's trying to, slay heathens and things like that. And the most important thing for an Ascendancy to be a well-made Ascendancy, in my opinion, is that it has unique mechanics that are either impossible or very, very difficult to get elsewhere, and the Inquisitor has multiples of these, both in offense and in defense. When you compare that to another Ascendancy that's popular, but I honestly don't think is that good, is going to be something like the Occultist. Now, you might be saying, oh, but Occultist is so popular, and everybody loves it, and it's used so often, and it's so powerful. Yeah, that's fine, but I think that the reason that it's used so often, and the reason that it's so popular, is simply just because it has a couple overpowered nodes. But besides that, the Ascendancy is very boring. So if you've got wrong opinions and you think the Inquisitor is bad but the Occultist is good, maybe I'll be able to change your opinion by the end of this video. But in the meantime, if you're enjoying this content, make sure that you give this video a like, subscribe to YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest content. And without further ado, let's get into it. So as a brief before we get into talking about why I think some Ascendancies are good and why I think some Ascendancies are bad, I do want to note that this whole talk that I'm kind of having here and this whole opinion that I'm making here is almost completely irrelevant, and that's mainly because, in my opinion, I don't think that we're going to get very many changes to any of the Ascendancies going forward, because Diablo 4 is kind of on the horizon, and although there's been a bunch of just, very large problems with the Diablo series, Diablo as a franchise has a lot of pulling power, and what I think that's going to happen is that GGG is focusing heavily on PoE 2 at the moment, so that when everybody is disappointed with how terrible Diablo 4 is going to be, maybe they can pull in a bunch of new people that have been brought to the genre temporarily because Diablo has those mind worms in them, and maybe they can pull some more people to the franchise. So that's kind of the problem with even worrying about any of these Ascendancies, because I feel that most ideas that they're going to have for new or interesting or cool mechanics that they could change some of these Ascendancies are simply going to be pushed into the 19 new Ascendancies that we're getting in PoE 2. So the purpose here is hopefully to drum up a little bit of people thinking and noticing that some of these Ascendancies really do still need some help. When there are Ascendancies that have sub 0.5 representation in leagues, I don't want these Ascendancies to just be left behind. I really want there to be just a large pass, maybe right before PoE 2, to just hopefully make these Ascendancies somewhat worthwhile. And not just in a power aspect. I'm not talking just about whether or not the Ascendancy has big number or small number. That's not what I'm talking about here. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to hopefully give these Ascendancies some identity, some thing that makes them unique, that makes them different from everything else. Now let's talk about why I think the Inquisitor is good. So the main reason that I think an Ascendancy is good, in my opinion, is that it's going to have both useful mechanics as well as unique mechanics that are unique to that Ascendancy, where you can't just simply be like, oh, well, I'll just toss on this item and have every single thing that this Ascendancy does and no problem. With the Inquisitor has multiples of these. Mainly, we're talking about Inevitable Judgment. Inevitable Judgment is a node that makes it so that you completely shift the way that you scale damage on the Inquisitor. You are 100% focused now on crit instead of being able to try to reduce the elemental resistances. Notably, Inevitable Judgment, if you stack enough crit, which you should be if you're using this node, makes it so that most curses don't really work anymore. It makes it so that exposure isn't a good thing anymore. It doesn't do anything. You completely ignore it. So it poses a lot of power that the build can obtain, but also a lot of challenges where it's well, what curse do I really use now? Do I use this ability to get exposure, or what do I actually go for? It makes you think a little bit. It changes the way that the gameplay works for that particular Ascendancy, and it just gives you something different to do, something unique to that Ascendancy. Another option like this is going to be the Pious Path and Sanctuary line. This enables Righteous Fire extremely easily because it gives you hybrid recovery. It gives you something that is almost impossible to get elsewise. This makes it so that you can always have Consecrated Ground around you, you can boost the effectiveness of Consecrated Ground, and it gives you multiple options of builds and things that you can go into. Righteous Fire, or being a hybrid life energy shield build, which is honestly really difficult to make work these days. This makes it possible. Or you can even do something along the lines of like going a low life Petrified Blood build and then focusing a lot more on Energy Shield and being able to keep both of those recovered. Petrified Blood makes it so that life recovery, life regeneration has double the effect essentially. So this life recovery gets double the effect while also being able to use Energy Shield as like a frontal, shield to keep people from coming in. It's just a very good ascendancy that has lots of potential power into it. Thematically, it's very on point and has lots of unique mechanics that are just simply unique to the Inquisitor. Now let's go on the flip side here and talk about the other ascendancy that I named here, which is the Occultist. I think the Occultist is literally only surviving by these two nodes, Forbidden Power and Profane Bloom. These two nodes by themselves are what's making the Occultist powerful and popular. There is nothing unique about the Occultist. The only really unique thing that the Occultist has is Void Beacon. It makes it so that you have 100% reduced life regeneration of nearby enemies, and you can even get 75% of that with just the Frost Bomb skill, right? This is like the only really unique thing that the entire Ascendancy has. Going through all of these points, you can get this. I mean, Malediction's kind of unique, but it's just damage increase and damage reduction. I mean, that's good. I'm not going to say it's bad, but not really unique. Additional Curse, that's on the skill tree. Increased effective curses, also on the skill tree. Profane Bloom, you can get Explodey in other sources. This is a pretty good Explodey, but you can get Explodey in other sources. Hexes can affect hexproof enemies is pretty hard to get, but it's honestly not that useful. There's not that many hexproof enemies, to be honest with you. It's like a map mod, but I mean, other than that. Withering Presence, you can get pretty much everything here except the nearby hindered enemies deal reduced damage over time. Void Beacon, once again, is just some generic stuff and some reduced life regeneration rate. Frigid Wake, you can get pretty much everything here. I mean, like the every 4 seconds chance to freeze nearby unique enemies is kind of cool, I guess, but it's honestly not that cool. Wild Bastion can get pretty much everything else here somewhere else. The immune to stun is pretty nice while you have Energy Shield, and then Forbidden Power is literally just like AoE damage and power charges. Nothing about this ascendancy is really that unique or interesting. It's just simply that scaling power charges allows you to scale a lot of damage. This enables those power charges. And on top of that, it's just got a lot of good stats in the ascendancy. Thematically, this ascendancy is okay. I don't necessarily think that just like, yeah, you do a lot of chaos and cold damage. I don't think that that's thematic enough. The curse stuff is pretty cool. The energy shield stuff is pretty cool. But just like the generic damage line here, where this is all just like, yeah, you do more damage, good, yeah? It's not really that interesting. Honestly, they took away one of the more interesting nodes from the Occultist and moved it onto the skill tree, and pretty much nobody even uses this, so why is it here on the skill tree? Should have just left this with the Occultist and made it more powerful, right? Like, I don't understand why they need to make these ascendancies worse. I don't know. The Occultist just doesn't really interest me at all anymore, unfortunately. So that's my problem, is that there are so many ascendancies in this game that are like right there. They're really close, but then there's also a few of them that are just absolutely terrible. Some ascendancies that I think are good when I'm looking at it through this framework are the Inquisitor, the Necromancer. The Necromancer has multiple different unique mechanics, Mistress of Sacrifice, Plaguebringer, and Corpse Pact. It has interesting mechanics that you can get here, like Bone Barrier is pretty cool. It's got some generic stuff that just gives you some stats, but it's got a bunch of unique stuff that changes the way that you play the game. These corpse mechanics completely change the way that you can play the game. Mistress of Sacrifice gives you an awesome defensive bonus that's unique to the Necromancer. No one else can get this. And you've got ascendancies like the Champion, which has, you just have Fortify. This is impossible to get for the most part for anybody that isn't a melee build at this point, right? You've also got mechanics like Adrenaline from First to Strike and Last to Fall. This is a super cool mechanic, and then it's got a bunch of other nodes that are just really powerful. Honestly, the Conqueror and Worthy Foe nodes aren't that good, but for a random attack build that you're playing, if you've got nothing else to choose, they're not bad nodes, right? They're unique in the fact that you don't need to worry about accuracy anymore if you take these nodes. You can taunt if you're going to be in a party and, they deal less damage to other people too. I know that nobody plays in a party, but it's cool thematically, right? And then on top of that, you've just got really high power nodes like Inspirational or things like Master of Metal that just enable certain kinds of builds or enable certain kinds of playstyles. This ascendancy just has a lot going for it. But then you look at other ascendancies like the Gladiator, which has essentially just been completely neutered at this point. There is only one notable on the entirety of the Gladiator ascendancy that is even worth thinking about, and that's Arena Challenger. And the only reason that it's worth thinking about is because it makes you go fast, and people like going fast. They've completely destroyed Gladiator block. It just doesn't do anything anymore. You can get gratuitous violence with a pair of gloves, And Outmatch and Outlast is kind of a meme, to be honest with you. It's like, oh, you gain Frenzy and Endurance charges if you're dual wielding, and you get like some random stats. It's like, there's nothing good about this Ascendancy anymore. You literally just play a champion and use an Arena Challenger, Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame, and you've got everything from the Gladiator. And kind of the same thing goes for the Slayer. You just play a champion, and then you take the node from the Slayer that you want, and it's just better. There are like, there's like one good Slayer build at the moment, which is like a Cyclone Shockwave something. I don't know. I don't even like think about the Slayer anymore, because just take the node with Forbidden Flesh, Forbidden Flame, and play the champion, which is the better Ascendancy. And this goes for so many different things, right? Like if you go to pretty much any of the classes, you see this just all over the place, right? What is the Juggernaut? What does the Juggernaut have going for it? What interesting and unique things does a Juggernaut have? There's two of them. There is the accuracy stack thing. This is pretty cool. This allows you to just gain a whole bunch of accuracy, and you get attack speed based off of that accuracy. And if you're stacking strength, you also get accuracy rating effective to your strength. And then you've got Unstoppable, which just makes it so that you can never be slowed. Besides that, every other single node on the Juggernaut is almost completely useless. Like, these nodes are bad. Unbreakable's okay, I guess, but you can literally get tankier on a champion than you can on the Ascendancy that is designed to be tanky. Like, the Juggernaut is literally an Ascendancy that is designed to be just a giant wall of meat that can't be pushed, and it's not as tanky as other Ascendancies. It has nothing, right? There's nothing here. You look at the Chieftain, and the Chieftain's got a couple cool things going for it. Thematically, it's pretty cool. There's some interesting stuff going on, but it just needs tweaks. It needs like number changes, or it needs like an additional unique mechanic, because a lot of these nodes are just like, I mean, yeah, endurance charges are cool, but like the totem nodes feel kind of lackluster. It feels like they're just kind of tacked on here. None of these totem nodes really end up being super interesting most of the time. There's a couple builds that can use them. You've got nodes like Tessalio, which is okay. And then most people just take a variety of these nodes, and then they'll take like one or other nodes here. But there's other Ascendancies that just simply do this better. If you're gonna play a fire damage build right now, guess what Ascendancy is better for fire than the fire damage Ascendancy? If you're gonna play Ignite, guess what? You're playing the Elementalist most likely. If you're gonna play just like generic fire damage, you're probably gonna play an Inquisitor. There's no reason to be a Chieftain at the moment. You can get a little bit of like interesting tankiness or interesting, like, I don't know, like totem stuff going on, but what other reason, unless you're just doing like some weird specific eccentric slam totem build, right? Just because an Ascendancy works really well for like one build, I don't think really makes it a good Ascendancy. Give you some more examples. Going over here, I think that the Assassin is actually a pretty unique and interesting Ascendancy. The problem is that the Assassin has just kind of been neutered a little bit when it comes to the numbers. The issue here is that people played only the Assassin because it was so powerful, but I think that this is a good Ascendancy. I think it's an interesting Ascendancy. It's got a unique mechanic in Mistwalker, meaning like you are able to scale the extra effect of Elusive very well, gives a very easy source of Elusive, which is a little hard to get, and you take no extra damage from critical strikes while elusive. Pretty cool node. It does have a unique way to scale crit with poison very easily. Very, very cool set of nodes. And then it's got just like the generic crit and power charge stuff. These power charge nodes are okay. There's nothing wrong with them. I like them. And then you've got like these opportunistic and ambush and assassinate, which are really cool thematic nodes. But the Ascendancy just needs a little bit of love, right? It just needs a little bit of help, and it would be really good. The Trickster Ascendancy, they've completely neutered this Ascendancy. They took its one defining feature and threw it on the skill tree. Why is anybody going to play this Ascendancy? Why would anybody care about this Ascendancy when you can get the one defining good feature that this Ascendancy had on the skill tree? You just go and click 1 point here. That's it. That's all that you need. Most people who are on the side of the tree are following along this little highway anyways. Oh, it's just 1 point. Just click it, and then you are the Trickster, right? Besides that, I mean, they added in Heartstopper, which is literally a meme. This is we're not going to get into it, but I mean, the unique mechanics that the Trickster has, Harness the Void is kind of cool, but the problem here is that there's not really a lot of builds that do like Chaos Conversion, and a lot of builds that do like really big hit damage, that it wouldn't just be better being a different Ascendancy. And they've kind of neutered damage over time quite a bit in recent like history. So this being the damage over time Ascendancy, being its like number thing that's good, this doesn't have any unique mechanics to it anymore. There's no reason to be the Trickster. So if there's no unique mechanics and the numbers are bad, why would you play this Ascendancy? It either has to have good numbers like the Occultist. Occultist doesn't have anything super unique to it, but it has good numbers, or it needs to have unique mechanics. Trickster doesn't have any of those. Something like the Saboteur has unique mechanics, one of the biggest one being like the increased area of effect of traps and all of the mechanics that happen with mines and such. If you want to play like a mine or a trap type build, the Saboteur is really, really good for that. You can't get these effects anywhere else. It means the Ascendancy is played, right? So those are my hopes for both the Ascendancies that we get in PoE 2, which will hopefully have a lot of very, very unique mechanics to them. I hope that we get Ascendancies where choosing that Ascendancy has actual purpose, and if there's not actual purpose, and it is just a stat stick Ascendancy, that those stat sticks are actually pretty good. I think that there is room for some stat stick Ascendancies in PoE. The Raider is an example of that. It just has a bunch of really powerful stats, and you can just play it. I don't think the answer is to nerf these stat stick Ascendancies to the point where they're just useless, or take all of the interesting things from these Ascendancies and just push them into the tree so that everyone can use them. I think that we should be making these Ascendancies more specialized so that there's more interesting builds and interesting concepts and things that people can come up with, where we're kind of a little bit more limited in the things that we have access to so that we can create more and interesting and newer things. I don't like the idea of just, well, you just play an Occultist, you power charge stack, and then you just do the same thing. You play over literally any build. It's like, maybe I'm just ranting, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. So if you think that you know better than me, which you might, who knows, you can go and tell me down in the comments. And beyond that, make sure that you give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest videos, and stay safe out there in raid class. And I'll see you guys in the next